right, last part of our homework is these 4 questions. You did the first 4 yesterday, and they have different types of models. So there's different ways of looking at them, and hopefully this should make more sense after we go through it. So number 5, the model below represents an equation. Which equation does the model represent? Well, I explained to one class today, and I want to make sure both classes understand what this means. Let me get a better pen. All they're doing is taking 2 models and overlapping them. So it's hard to see what they're doing, but once you see it, it's really not that hard. So what they're doing is they're taking one of the models, and they have basically 2 holes, and then how many tenths? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tenths. So then they just have their 4 tenths at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then we look the other way. So this way, if we were to turn this, that's the other side. So then they have this one. Where they have the 2 holes, and then it looks like they have 4 tenths again. So they have 1, I'm a terrible drawer, sorry, 3, 4. So you have 2 holes, there's 1 hole, and 4 tenths, so that's 2 and 4 tenths. And the same thing over here. You have 1 hole, and then the 4 tenths, so it's 2 and 4 tenths. And then they just put them on top of each other, and you get this guy right here. So we have 1 hole, so 2 and 4 tenths times 2 and 4 tenths. So already we can kind of figure out which one's the right one and which one's not the right one. But let's go ahead and do the math. So if we did 2 and 4 tenths times 2 and 4 tenths, remember with multiplication, we do not line them up, even though they're accidentally kind of lined up here. They don't have to line up. Multiplication says, no, they're rebel, they bunny hop, okay? So 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. I am now done with my 4. I can cross this guy out right here. So I'm going to get rid of my 4 and put a 0 in its spot down here to move on to the next number. And then I'm going to multiply everything on the top by this number. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Add this all up, and I should get 6, and then 17, and 4 plus 1 is 5. Let's see how many times I need to hop. I hopped 1 time up here, 1 time up here, so I have 1 and 1, so I'm hopping 2 times. 1, 2. Let's see if that's right. So we're basically saying 2 and 4 tenths times 2 and 4 tenths equals 5 and 76 hundredths. Well, we can go ahead and look at this model, and it tells us the answer. It's basically it's one of those problems where you're using everything. So it's like if you have jars and you filled each jar, how much do you have all together? So let's go ahead and count our holes. We know, since we've been doing this, that one of these squares equals 1 hole. We know that one of these guys is a tenth. And we know that this little guy right here is 100th. Okay? So let's count them up. I have 1 hole here, 2 holes here, 3 holes here, 4 holes here. And then we'll count up our tenths, and once we get to 10 tenths, that equals 1 hole. So I have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just got another tenth. So now I no longer have 4 holes, I have 5. So I'm going to write 5 over here. It might change again, we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 5 holes so far. It looks like I have 6 tenths, but that may change. Let's count how many hundredths I have, because if I have 10 hundredths, that is equal to 1 of the tenths. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up. I have 10 hundredths, that's equal to 1/10, so my 6 now goes to a 7. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 hundredths. So that's exactly what we said. 5 wholes, 7 tenths, and 6 hundredths. 5 and 76. So the picture tells us exactly what the answer is. So my answer should be A. Number 6. This model is different than this one because we're not counting everything up. You're actually taking 2 decimals and multiplying them together. This one is using wholes. Also, in this multiplication problem, it's something like you mowed some of the lawn and then you raked another part of the lawn. How much did you rake and mow? So that's why we have like the shaded portion there. So the model below is shaded to represent the multiplying of 2 decimals. What equation does this model represent? It does the same thing where it goes down and then over. So let's count and see how many tenths are on the top. So I have 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths, 7 tenths. So on the top I have 7 tenths. On the side I have 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, 6 tenths. So I have 6 tenths over here. So I am actually multiplying 7 tenths times 6 tenths. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 0 is 0 plus 4 is 4. Cross that out, put a 0, 0, 0. Add it up, you have 2, 4, 0. 2 decimal hops, so I go 1, 2, and I get an answer of 42 hundredths. I can also count up in the shaded portion where they overlap, and I would get 42 hundredths. I would get enough to make 4 tenths and 2 little pieces left over, 2 hundredths. So my right answer should be 7 tenths times 6 tenths equals, right here, D. All right, number 7. It takes 2 and 4/10 ounces of chocolate to cover 1 pound of almonds. The model below represents the amount of chocolate needed to cover 3 and 6/10 ounces of almonds. Based on the model, how many ounces of chocolate will it take to cover 3 and 6/10 ounces of almonds? So we're covering all of that chocolate with almonds. We have equal groups that we are putting together and we want to know the total. Whenever we're looking for the total and we have equal groups, that's multiplication. All right, so multiplication. I can go ahead and just do it the standard way if that's easier for you. So we'll do that right now. Okay. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. I am now done with my 4. I multiplied everything on the top by it, so I'm going to cross it out and put a 0 down here for its place and move on. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Add it all up. 4, 6, and 8. I hop 1 time on the top, 1 time down here, 2 times total, so it goes 1, 2. So I'm saying 8 and 64 hundredths should be my answer. If we look over here, this signifies the 1, 2, 3 wholes and 6 tenths. So up at the top, this is the 3 and 6/10 ounces. And on this side, we have the 2 wholes and we have the 4 ounces. So this side would have represented the 2 and 4/10. And if we would have counted all of these up, we would have gotten a total of 8 wholes, 6 tenths, and 4 hundredths because we have enough tenths to keep adding to the wholes, if that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and B should have been my answer. If you need more help with this tomorrow, come to me and we'll break it down together. Number 8, we're kind of going back to the same one where it overlaps again, so we know the answer is where it overlaps. The model below represents an equation. Which equation is represented by the model? Well, let's go ahead and see how many tenths are coming from this side. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 tenths that I'm multiplying by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. So I'm multiplying it by 6 tenths. So I can go ahead and solve this just standard if I want to. If 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. Cross that, 0, 0, 0. Add it all up. 0, 3, 0. I bunny hopped once up here, once down there, so twice. So then my answer, because I'm multiplying 5/10 by 6/10, and I should be getting 3/10 or 30/10. And if you count, that's how many tenths you should get, because if you wanted to just pretend like these were coming down here, like we're moving this down here to fill up a tenth, we would be able to do that 3 times. So my right answer should be this one, C.